concerning this Kony 2012. Now, remember, this is a video which is now up to 50 million views as of early this afternoon. And this is a warmonger video. This is the desire to turn American students into militant warmongers for imperialism in Africa. Just a little background. Take a look at my book, Obama the Postmodern Coup, The Making of a Manchurian Candidate. This book is nothing short of prophetic. Sorry if I have to say so myself, but it's prophetic. One of the basic theses about the Obama foreign policy is it will be focused on Africa. It'll be focused on Africa with a view to kicking the Chinese out of Africa. The Chinese will work with any government to secure strategic raw materials. And in that area around Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Lake District, between Zaire, Kenya, and these areas, there's tremendous deposits of copper, cobalt, uranium, gold, magnesium, tin, plus the rare earths, right? The molybdenum and other exotic rare earth minerals. These strategic raw materials, these strategic minerals are what's at stake in Africa. Same thing in Zimbabwe. Same thing in Katanga province in southern Congo. So I warned, Africa will become a battlefield between the U.S. and China. The U.S. will seek to destroy, to use the creative chaos that Condoleezza Rice conjured up back in 2005 and has been the staple of U.S. policy. It's another way of saying scorched earth. Rather than let the Chinese develop it and engage in trade relations, however one-sided or however abusive, destroy everything. So that's obviously worse. And the other side of the thesis of Obama the postmodern coup was the attempt of Obama will be to take people who were anti-war and turn them into militant warmongers. It was from anti-war in 2007, 5 years later, to make these same college kids and similar people, foundation-funded operatives leading the charge, into militant imperialist warmongers. In other words, people leading the charge, demanding war, demanding more military aid for Uganda, demanding essentially an invasion of Uganda, whatever they say, all these quibbles, right? We get it. Those are simply, plausible denial. But the thrust of this thing is the U.S. should invade Uganda and capture and kill this character, Joseph Kony. Now, this is the horror, right? Remember, with Bush and Cheney, they said after 9/11, go to the mall, go to the shopping center, buy something, and you'll be helping the U.S. economy. That's all you need to do. Samantha Power and her clique, these left-wing imperialists, clever, foaming, liberal imperialists, they said, no, that's horrible. They were horrified by Bush and Cheney. They wanted total war, total sacrifice, total austerity, total mobilization against the powers of a dictatorship. Right? Gene Sharp was there, too, and the Albert Einstein Institute, and the National Endowment for Democracy, and the entire crew. They wanted to mobilize for a new phase of imperialism. Right? As I point out in the book, it's the contrast between the passive assent to imperialism a la Schopenhauer and the active, militant, fascistic, social fascistic imperialism as argued for by Nietzsche and by Ayn Rand. All right? Don't forget her, because that's similar. So that's what we have now. Now, notice they're picking out this guy Kony. Uganda has problems that go far beyond Kony. They have about 40% of the people of Uganda live on less than €1 per day, less than $1.25 or $1.30 per day, whatever it is. Uganda has been under the dictatorship of Yoweri Museveni, top imperialist enforcer, top imperialist asset. He's been there since 1986, and in some ways, Joseph Kony is the Siamese twin of Museveni, because he's the opposition against Museveni that emerged, and it's based ethnically, right, and tribally. As often happens in Africa, these things that have religious or ideological names turn out to be tribal. In this case, it's that Museveni comes from the southern or central part of Uganda, whereas the Acholi ethnic group in northern Uganda along the Sudanese border, they're the ones who rebelled against Museveni and then were assisted in that by the government of Sudan. And the reason for that is, I think I've told this story before, when I was in Khartoum in the mid-1990s, the information minister at that time, Ghazi, showed us crates of weapons with rifles, and it said, Defense Ministry of Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. So it was the choice for the Sudanese was either the Ugandans, as a base of British imperialism, were going to be fomenting the rebellion in southern Sudan, the area that now has seceded, or the Sudanese would send it back the other way. But whatever this is, these are things of the past. The Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, Lord's Resistance Army of Joseph Kony, is now a negligible force. A lot of them have fled into southern Sudan. They're down to a couple of hundred hardcore people, few thousand ideological supporters. This is nothing. Remember, this is the area where, in the mid-1990s, we had Susan Rice helping along the massacre, right, in Rwanda, Burundi, right, where essentially the Hutu Tutsi enemy status was played then into a massacre. But even more than that, what happened after that, right? The Great African War, the war in the Congo from about 1998, 1999, for about 5 years, it killed 6 to 8 million people. This is the big thing that's gone on there. That's why Uganda is this wreck. So Uganda, with Rwanda, Burundi, they were one side of this war against Congo, in which all sorts of people, right? Sudan intervened on the side of Congo, and Angola on the side of Congo, and quite a few others. So this was the main way that imperialism was wrecking Africa around the turn of the millennium. This is why Uganda is largely a destroyed society. But in the course of that, Uganda occupied the northern third of Congo, and the atrocities were on big time. Again, this is where 6 to 8 million people died. It's the biggest genocide since World War II. Not a word about this in any of these things. So now we've got the imperialist stooge and hypocrite Ocampo, right? Ocampo, the head of the International Criminal Court. He's indicted Joseph Kony. Oh, yeah, he indicted Milosevic. He indicts, Gaddafi. I'm sure Assad will come soon, General Bashir of Sudan. Hey, Ocampo, how about the indictments for Bush and Cheney and the neocons in the Pentagon, right? Wolfowitz. We're still waiting for those. Where are they? And then you've got Senator Imhoff, the reactionary Republican, Kerry, Sue Davis, Democrat of California. Feingold is interested in this. So it shows that everybody in the Democratic Party, but everybody, has feet of clay. Susan Rice, of course, on board, that bubbling cauldron of hatred. So this is part of the attempt to get the U.S. into Africa. The specific demand of this film is to upgrade the Ugandan army. More military aid for Uganda. Let's support the army that went into Congo and killed millions of people, and call that activism and humanitarianism. This is ridiculous. This is disgusting. Back in a minute on World Crisis Radio. So, the Kony 2012 film confirms my thesis in Obama the Postmodern Coup, which you ought to buy and read, that Obama would make Africa a battlefield with the Chinese for the sake of denying them strategic minerals, strategic raw materials, and oil available there in South Sudan, the mini-state, micro-state, rump state that the U.S. has now detached, at least for the moment, from from Sudan, and I've been in the capital there, Juba, back in the mid-'90s. Take a look around now. Obviously, Libya going into chaos. We've got the eastern part, the Cyrenaica, right? Terrorist heaven in Derna, the Benghazi-Tobruk corridor. They want to be independent. They want that oil money for themselves. Even Jalil, the NATO agent, says this is too much, but I'm sure NATO will be happy to deal with any rebels. The weaker, the tinier, the more impotent, the more mini-state, micro-state, the better for the imperialist. Notice, though, Libya, when you look at that array of countries, Mali, Chad, Niger, places like this, they depended on Libyan development aid. In particular, we know that food production in Mali and Chad was supported by the Libyans. That was last year. That's all gone. That's all over. So part of the effect of the collapse of Libya will be felt in that Sahel, the greater Sahel, across the Sahara and the sub-Saharan, in particular Sahel. We've also got Nigeria. Nigeria is the scene of an Italian has been taken hostage in Nigeria by the Boko Haram Islamic extremists. You can see this scenario, right? Play the Islamic extremists, play your Al-Qaeda-style forces, right? Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, the Belhaj people, in other words. Play them against the Christians or the government or whatever it is. Ivory Coast, of course, we followed last year. That's where this whole thing got going. The French intervening genocidally to impose their puppet candidate for president of Ivory Coast. He was an International Monetary Fund official. He's now ruling in the country. Remember that Obama's cousin Odinga is a big cheese in Kenya, and that Kenya invaded Somalia a few months ago. This is the town of Kisame, and the French were there bombarding from the ocean, right, killing a whole bunch of black Africans, but of course under left cover. Sorry, this is Kismayo. They were allegedly attacking Al-Shabaab because Al-Shabaab militia crosses, they say, into Kenya to kidnap people. The continued campaign against Mugabe of Zimbabwe. But in the middle of it, invisible children, God knows what that is. Is that in the same class with, I don't know what, any of these intelligence front organizations that we've come to see? TRI is their fundraising branch. This is very slick. It's very much a Project Democracy extravaganza. And now we've got people who are telling Obama, be more imperialist, intervene more. And, of course, the fact that this is going on campuses cannot help but spill over to someplace like Syria, where we've got all kinds of people demanding intervention into Syria. Let's just see. We got the Washington Post editorial page, of course, demanding something more. The Wall Street Journal, obviously, the warmongers having a field day. So no credibility for Kony 2012. This is supposed to come to a paroxysm on the 20th of April. Don't be a militant warmonger. Don't be a dupe for Obama's imperialist power cartel, but rather boycott this thing, denounce it. Get on Twitter and have a go at Kony 2012 as the latest imperialist recruiting tool, right? Are the invisible children, is that the propaganda arm of U.S. AFRICOM, or what is it?